Hey folks, I'm Nate, and just a day or so ago I was catching up on my Flex Rocks and Rollovers content, and I heard about this wild card. So if you don't know what this wildcard is from Flex Rocks and Rollovers, you'll probably want to go check out his video. I'll link it at the bottom. There's several of them at this point because apparently I'm behind. I may have even missed the bus on this. Now, me and my LJ really have no business being in the 24 Hell and Back Challenge, but I wanted to throw my hat in the ring anyway, and I'll get into why in just a second. First, let me tell you a little bit about who the heck I am and why I'm making this video. So if you're new to my content, you may not know. My name's Nate. I've been around the off-road industry kind of as a consumer more than anything for probably about 2 decades, maybe a little more. Way back in the late 90s, like 1998 or so, I bought my first 4x4 vehicle. In fact, it was the first vehicle I ever owned. So I have literally never been without a 4x4 my entire driving career. So that was a 1989 Chevy S10 Blazer. So pretty much right after I got that Blazer, I put it in four-wheel drive and started hitting some dirt roads and trails and whatnot. I had no idea what I was doing, and pretty quickly started doing things like getting the thing stuck and having to call my dad and wait for him to get off work to get me unstuck so that I could get to work that evening. You've all been there, I hope. I hope it's not just me. A year or so into owning that Blazer, I was going to college and I was commuting with a guy in a 1995 YJ, and he got me hooked on Jeeps. I bought my first Jeep, owned it for about 2 years. It was a 1990 YJ, and I bought a 92 YJ with a bigger engine, 4.0 versus the 2.5, and it's just kind of, it's history ever since. I've owned like 3 YJs, an XJ, 3 JKs, a Patriot, which doesn't really count, and of course this LJ. So what is the LJ? This LJ it's an 05 4.0 automatic Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. The drivetrain is pretty much stock. Haven't changed gears, haven't put lockers in it. It's got a traction lock in the rear, Dana 30 at the front, Dana 44 in the back. Haven't really done much of the drivetrain other than keep it maintained. I did have to replace the transmission once, but I was still daily driving it at the time, so I just put the 42 RLE back in there, rebuilt from Jasper, and, you know, kind of went from there. And yes, I swapped it myself. I didn't just pay a shop to do it. Right here in this garage, I've got a video on it. Go check it out if you're curious. I've done a bunch of sort of off-road style modifications to it. As I said, daily drove it for quite a while, but now it's trailered. It's an 05, like I said. 2-inch Old Man Emu springs on it, Bilstein shocks, some Clayton off-road control arms, still in the stock configuration, just adjustable with, you know, better ends and whatnot. The stock control arms were shaped like boomerangs when I finally took them off because this thing goes in the rocks. Other than the suspension, I've done some safety upgrades, things like added a fire extinguisher, like the basics. I haven't put a roll cage in it yet, but that's definitely on the short list. I want to build some fenders because these are pretty well beat up. I did a couple little upgrades to the engine, like this cowl induction air intake. That's all home cooked up from stuff I found on Amazon and whatnot. Video on that too. V-Air air compressor with a tank. A couple of skid plates. I have a Metal Cloak gas tank skid that's waiting to go on. Homemade front bumper. Here, have a look, with my worn VR Evo on it. But otherwise, you know, it's not a crazy, insane wheeler. So again, I come back to why am I throwing my name in for this wild card? obviously, this little Jeep of mine is in a totally different class from the sort of wheeling you see in Flex Rocks and Rollovers. So why am I bothering with this wildcard? Let me take you back a little bit. Somewhere around the early 2000s, when I was first just kind of getting into this sport, I was really learning how to modify my Jeep and really like just grabbing that whole modify your Jeep at home by the horns and sort of turning myself into the wheeler that I am now. I started sharing that knowledge so that folks can learn from my mistakes, learn from things that I've done since like 2002 or 2003. In 2007, I started a little website called SWBCrawler. I basically took all of my content, I put it in one place. It was mostly text content, because think about the era that I'm talking about. We didn't have video content like we do today. And then in 2016, I decided to take that content, not all of it, I decided to take some of that content and turn it into video content. And that video content is what fuels the SWBCrawler YouTube channel. Now, I'm not a huge channel. I've got just under 5,000 subscribers, but it all features this Jeep here in the garage or out on the trails. I enjoy content creation so much that I've turned it into a day job. Now, I don't make content for the off-road industry as a day job, but I make content for a pretty large open source software company. That's right. I talk on the internet about something as boring as computers, right? And get paid for it. It's crazy. What I'm telling you is I get passionate about a thing and I make content about it. One of the things that I'm passionate about is that you do not need tons and 40s to get out there and enjoy this sport. I have a motto that I kind of live by. It's called get out there and wheel. I say it in most of my videos. I've got stickers that I've created that I stuck on the back of my tow rig so that even when I'm just out in traffic, people can see what I'm talking about, right? This Jeep is the embodiment of get out there and wheel, okay? It's not crazily built. It's not perfect. It's not built to the nines or the tons. Now, that's not to say that I will never be on tons. I'll never be on 40s. I'll never have lockers. That will come. My point is that what I do is I build this vehicle so that it can do the things that I enjoy, and then I upgrade where it makes sense. Now, I said that I have nothing against tons. Well, here, have a look. They're literally waiting. Those will eventually be under this Jeep in some form. Those are Dana 60s, both Ford, not the cool Ford Super Duty axles, but there's Ford 60 with 30 spline shafts that I'm probably going to upgrade to 35 splines. And that front housing, I'm not quite certain yet. I may replace that with a Super Duty front. But the point is, I'm already started, right? It's going to happen. If Flex Rocks and Rollovers wants to create content that caters to the average Joe who wants to get out there and wheel, I'm all ears. I'm ready to collaborate. Tell me what you want to see. Come on out here and hang out. I'll let you come to my shop and have a couple beers if you drink. I'll take you up to AOAA. I'll show you around some of the trails that I wheel this thing on, blues and blacks. It's obviously not the sort of thing I'm taking on red trails. I'm not doing the crazy boulders. I'm not doing mammoth in this thing. But I know the park really dang well. And I'd be happy to take anybody on 33s, 35s, anywhere I take this. And I'm going to tell you, every time I do, people leave impressed. I'm not tooting my own horn. It's just a fact. People see this Jeep and they think, what's he doing out here? Well, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the sport. So anyway, I feel like I've gone on for a long time here. Why am I throwing my name in the ring? Because I want to bring content for the average Joe in this sport to the world and show you that not everybody needs to be on crazy two buggies with 42-inch tires and, you know, Dana 80s. All right, so I've rambled on enough. Flex Rocks and Rollovers, if you're watching this, I hope that you get what I'm talking about here and you see the passion that I'm all about in this sport. And really, feel free, reach out, man. I'd love to just chat. All right, so as always, remember, get out there and wheel, and I'll catch you in the next one.